Hello and welcome to Global Matters. Kenyans went to the polls on August 9th in a general election that is always held every 5 years. The August 9th election was the third general election and the fourth presidential one since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. The incumbent president, Uhuru Kenyatta, is not eligible for a third term by the provisions of that Constitution. The elections were expected to produce the president, members of the National Assembly, county governors of Kenya, and members of the 47 county assemblies of Kenya. Despite the protests from some members of the electoral body, the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission of the country, the Electoral Boundaries Commission, IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, declared William Ruto the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya winner of that keenly contested election, defeating Raila Odinga. As expected, on 22nd August, Odinga filed a court challenge to the result. Kenya, like many African countries, continues to struggle with the management of elections. These has often led to outbreaks of post-election violence, resulting in killings and displacement of many people. In 2007 only, more than 1,100 people were killed and over 500,000 people displaced. Meanwhile, the 2022 elections in Kenya produced a new political angle to Kenya politics based on class. This new political dynamic, which is being framed as hustlers versus dynasties, is set to be shaping Kenya politics. The families of incumbent President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga have dominated Kenya politics since independence in 1963. Moreover, Kenya has traditionally been ruled by presidents who belong to either the Kikuyu people like Kenyatta or the Kalenjin people like incumbent Vice President William Ruto. A potential victory of Odinga alone would have marked a departure for the country, which has 44 ethnic groups. If the president-elect successfully wards off Raila Odinga's court challenge, he will face challenges in confronting regional instability, youth unemployment, inflation, and the economic consequences of both COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's war on Ukraine. Now, for us to take this discussion further, joining us to discuss Kenya politics and the changing dynamism in the president is the presidential candidate of the Republican Liberal Party, RLP, in the 2022 election, Julliet Makhapila. Julliet joins us from London. We'll come back to have my guest who will do some kind of good justice to the political terrain and the new dynamics of both dynasties versus hustlers terrain shaping the Kenya politics when we come back from the break. Don't go away. We work to bring you global issues that shape the world, issues of global agenda that determine our national and common interests, our interests especially in Africa and indeed in Nigeria. And we bring you the behind the scene of the stories through our studio analysis.
Good and efficient legal process is one of the main things that we realize lead to the breaches of human rights in Nigeria.
My assessment of the war in Ukraine is very unfortunate.
The reports and the evidential base we're getting about attacks upon Christians, attacks upon Muslims.
We follow the stories and bring you the report from anywhere to everywhere. This is Kavi Oscar. This flight is heading to Budapest. I'll be boarding this bus now. He's heading straight to Medica with this hand that has represented the symbol of unity after the war in Rwanda, either global, foreign, or diplomatic relations, even diaspora matters. We bring you all here on Global Matters. We work to bring you global issues that shape the world, issues of global agenda that determine our national and common interests, our interests especially in Africa and indeed in Nigeria. And we bring you the behind the scene of the stories through our studio analysis.
Good and efficient legal process is one of the main things that we realise lead to the breaches of human rights in Nigeria.
My assessment of the war in Ukraine is very unfortunate.
The reports and the evidential base we're getting about attacks upon Christians, attacks upon Muslims.
We follow the stories and bring you the report from anywhere to everywhere. This is Kavi Oscar. This flight is heading to Budapest. I'll be boarding this bus now. It's heading straight to Medica. With this hand that has represented the symbol of unity after the war in Rwanda, either global, foreign, or diplomatic relations, even diaspora matters. We bring you all here on Global Matters. Thank you for taking the time to join us on the program today. Today we are looking at the Kenya election. Joining us from London to look at this, the process leading to the declaration of William Ruto as the president-elect in the just concluded Kenya election that was held on the 9th of August. Julliet Makhapila. Julliet is joining us from London. I was trying to connect with Julliet. Julliet was the presidential candidate of the RLP in Kenya. She has always been a presidential candidate, and in 2022 she was the standard bearer for RLP. Julliet will be joining us from London, but in the meantime, as I said in my opening speech, one of the key issues that shaped the election that just ended in Kenya was a slight shift from the Kenyans trying to shift away from what they call the dynasty reign in Kenya to the hustling reign in Kenya. That became a kind of a slang determining who becomes the president of Kenya. That shift might have not successfully held ground in the just concluded election that was held on the 9th of August, but it's becoming a new trend in Kenya: hustlers versus the dynasty. What do the Kenyans mean when they say hustlers versus dynasty? But in my opening remark, I did say to you that the families of the incumbent president Uhuru Kenyatta and the opposition leader Raila Odinga, they have dominated Kenya politics since its independence in 1963. It was expected that these people remain the dynasty regime, and those that were looking at a shift from the dynasties to the hustling were thinking that a new set of administration will be coming on board. However, even the president-elect of Kenya right now also belong to the dynasties, because his ethnic has always been part of the ruling dynasty in Kenya. He belongs to the Kalenjin people. He belongs to the Kalenjin. So we spoke about three major ethnic. No, really, there are about 44 ethnic groups in Kenya, but so far the Kalenjin people and of course the Kikuyu people have held sway in the administration of Kenya till date. However, a victory for Raila Odinga will have pushed forward his own ethnic group to the reign of government in Kenya. That is the Luo ethnic group. They have never been a part of the ruling class, even though the thought this time will be an opportunity for them to actually get close to what power is. But unfortunately, with what we have in Kenya right now, Raila Odinga in court, we don't know what may happen in the next few days. The Supreme Court has 14 days to decide whether the election was valid, was credible, and maybe the president-elect could be sworn in to become the president of Kenya, or the Supreme Court will return that that election and probably ask for a recount, or will say Kenya should go back to the poll again to consider who becomes the president of Kenya. We will continue to watch what happens in Kenya as development unfolds. Raila Odinga has submitted his opposition his challenge to that election, and the Kenya Supreme Court is expected to come up with the ruling any moment from now. I'm looking forward to have Julliet Makhapila, a presidential candidate of the RLP, join us on the program, trying to establish some connection to that. Let's go on another very short break. Hopefully by the time we come back, Julliet will have joined us. We'll come back. The world. Issues of global agenda that determine our national and common interests, our interests especially in Africa and indeed in Nigeria. And we bring you the behind the scene of the stories through our studio analysis.
Good and efficient legal process is one of the main things that we realize lead to the breaches of human rights in Nigeria.
My assessment of the war in Ukraine is very unfortunate.
The reports and the evidential base we're getting about attacks upon Christians, attacks upon Muslims.
We follow the stories and bring you the report from anywhere to everywhere. This is Kavi Oscar. This flight is heading to Budapest. I'll be boarding this bus now. He's heading straight to Medica with his hand that has represented the symbol of unity after the war in Rwanda, either global, foreign, or diplomatic relations, even diaspora matters. We bring you all here on Global Matters. All right, welcome back. We do have Julliet Makhapila joining us from London to look at the Kenya election that was held on August 9th, which now produced the president-elect William Ruto. As I said earlier on, Raila Odinga has filed a challenge to that election, and the Supreme Court has very limited time to decide whether William Ruto will continue as indeed the president, or the court will throw that election and ask Kenya to go back to the poll for fresh election or a recount. Julliet, thank you for taking the time to join us on the program. It's good to have you. Hello, Julliet.
Hello, and thank you so much, Tunde, and greetings to Nigeria. Greetings to London, greetings to Kenyans. I'm absolutely delighted to see you here today. Thank you. Greetings again.
Yes, Julia, thanks a lot. Thank you for taking the time to join us quickly because of our time. I need you to take a quick look at the election so far. What would be your assessment of the Kenya election that has produced the president-elect William Ruto?
Thank you so much, Tunde, for that question. The reception is quite poor here today, but I'm trying my best to hear you. Kenya's elections, yes, thanks for the good introduction there. I was standing as a presidential candidate within the Republican Liberty Party. And of course, you saw what is happening to the presidential election. And so it's absolutely interesting for me as a person, and especially as a woman candidate. I feel that there's a lot of irregularities that has gone on in Kenya right now, Tunde, and we can just see that those are some of the things that I said in around June the 24th, I believe, or around June, the month of May. I spoke about this at length when I was trying to get my certificate from the IEBC, Chepkati Wafula. And so I'm quite interested with what is going on right now, because obviously I feel that women should have been in the current contest. So for me to see what is going on, Tunde, I am not surprised with anything that is going on. So if my position was to go in and say to you right now that I'm not really impressed, let me put it that, and I know that some of the presidential candidates that we were standing with would probably be feeling the same, but I'm not going to speak for them because everybody's an individual. So thank you so much for your program, Punch Africa. So I'm really happy. Sorry, Global here today. And I'm really, really happy, Global Matters. So I'm really, really happy to just talk to the Nigerians. And I do get interviewed with a lot. I've just come out from another TV show. So yes, Global Matters. My apologies for that, Sunday. And I repeat that, Global Matters. I really appreciate your program here today, because it's important that the rest of Africa takes note with what is happening. And we need to really give ordinary citizens who come up to stand in our countries. And, you know, my campaign message, Tunde, was something, was along, we need to do away with recycled, I called it, we need to vote away the recycled old politicians, as I put it. So I'm very interested. So elections in Kenya is very interesting right now. And I'm sure that Nigerians will be very, very interested with what is happening in Kenya. The only good thing I must say that happened in this election is the diasporians got to vote in London for the first time. And so they were voting for the presidential election, but we saw very low turnout. And again, in United States as well. And I also want to say that the way the people went about, or the way the people were going to register, we saw a lot of hardship as well. And that was something that I, Julliet, raised so much and condemned the way it was being handled. So I really think that we need to be looking at Chebukati Wafula to tell Kenyans what really went wrong. So I'm very, very much interested with that.
All right.
And I was standing as a candidate for the Republican Liberty Party, Tunde. And so thank you so much to that.
All right, Julliet.
Party, I believe.
Right, Julliet. Okay. All right, Julliet. Let me. Not what we have seen in the past. Kenya elections have been characterized by violence, but it appears Raila Odinga was successful in bringing some calmness into the last election, despite his disagreement and, of course, the disagreement of some members of the electoral body. We've seen some level of calmness. We've seen people managing the situation, both the president and Raila Odinga managing the situation as against what we have always had in the past. My question to you, Julliet, is why does Kenya always have this level of, generally African elections, we always have this level of violence? Before I ask you the next question, why do we always have this level of violence, post-election violence? Start with Kenya.
Thank you. Once again, the reception is very poor here today, Tunde, but I've caught a bit of what you're saying. So if you're asking me why is it that we always see one kind of problem, or, you know, we saw what happened in the last election.
Yes.
The question is, how are we governed? I keep saying this, good leadership. You know, it's all about good management systems, Tunde. And you say it all the time in your programs in Global Matters, even when you're in UK, you always say that we need good leadership and good governance in Africa. You imagine a situation, Tunde, whereby you are already being excluded even before you start. And you can see, it sort of seems like handouts are being paid. Is that good practice? Is that good best of practice in any country? And we know how our systems are run. So that is why in my election, because I was the candidate, I said to Kenyans, I don't want your money. I want us to vote away all the old politicians so that we could have a new fresh start. And in fact, my campaign was Kenya Mpya, Haki Zetu, haki zetu, as this is our rights, and fresh politics, and tosha gari means Tosha Gari, that is, enough, and that was enough for us. We needed new, fresh politics, sort of, and I wanted to attract the youth. In fact, my deputy candidate, I chose a youth, and I wanted to see the youth being given opportunity and accessibility in our government here. And finally, I said our slogan is liberty. Powers of the people, because I believe a government is the people, and I believe that in our elections in Africa, even in Nigeria, across Africa, but let's say some African states, we need to be very specific. Corruption is destroying our countries. Poor governance is destroying our countries today. Malpractices is destroying our countries. So what we need is greatness. We need to bring back good democracy. We need to bring back to improve livelihood, good healthcare center. We want to bring back good schooling systems. We want to bring water in the whole country. You can imagine a country in Africa where we've got a lot in our country, but yet women at this stage are still going in poor sanitary places. You can see our elderly people in certain rural villages actually struggling to go in toiletry needs. That is not acceptable. It's absolutely not right. So for me to stand as a presidential candidate, I wanted these people out. I want to see people like new faces like Peter Obi coming in. I can see the likes of him coming in, and I'm so happy to see the youth coming out and saying they want new faces and fresh faces. You can see people are tired of old politicians. We are tired of corruptions. We are tired of poor healthcare centers. We are tired of our people suffering with very high taxes everywhere we go. In fact, in Kenya, let me say Kenya is one of the most highest paid country in taxes. Every office you go, you have to pay. So when you ask me why is it you always see there is a need to appeal or to state of appeal when elections are not even a presidential election, which I said we had irregularities right from the start. What do you expect? Do you expect that the person who is going to be defeated out of the first two, they are going to accept the results? I think we have to really ask the system what really goes on behind those scenes and ask the presidential candidates in Kenya. And I can tell you that for sure, Kenya, for me, in my experience as a woman as well, our constitution, by the way, says that women is a special category. Which should be considered when we are electing any Kenyan presidential candidate. So if you've got women forward, they must be considered to be in that presidential candidate.
All right, Julliet. Thank you,
did
Julliet.
We see that?
Julliet, thank you so much. It's a great pleasure connecting with you again. You have always been a great advocate of good governance in Africa, right from the British House of Parliament to the British House of Lords. You have always been out there campaigning good governance for the African people, a corruption-free African continent, and a continent that will always explore and exploit its fortunes for the benefit of the people. Glad to know that you took the bull by the horn by going into Kenya to say, look, I want to change the terrain. I will have asked you another question, but I'm afraid I've run out of time. But I hope to connect with you very soon and we'll take on this discussion again. Julliet Makhapila, thank you for your time on the program today, Julliet.
Thank you today.
All right, pleasure.
And I really look forward to seeing you here in London. We are missing you. Come back to London. Let's make Africa great. I wish Peter Obi, I am really a great supporter of Peter Obi, and tell him if you see him that Peter Obi.
I know you're campaigning. It's not campaigning time yet. No, I need to let you go now. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Julia. You're already doing some campaign. No, I'm sorry. It's not campaign time yet. All right, my name is Tunde Alabi. Thank you for your time here on Global Matters. Until we come again next week, do have a good time and enjoy your time. Bye.